Hi, everyone, and welcome to Skills for Mars Transitions. On this episode, I'm hosting Nina Jervis, aka Nina the Writer. Nina always dreamt to be a writer, but for the first 15 years of her life, she had to work in HR. 4 years ago, after attending a coaching class, she finally decided to do what she loves. Join us to hear her story. If you want to continue receiving career support and inspiration, consider subscribing to the channel. Every week, someone will share their incredible transition. And now I give you Nina. Hello, Nina the Writer, and welcome to Skills for Mars Transitions. I'm very, very glad to be hosting you today.
I'm very, very glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Nina, you have a really amazing story of wanting to do something for your entire life, then not being able to do it, and then finally doing what you love. Would you be okay to introduce yourself and tell everyone a bit about your story?
Sure, yeah, okay. So, introduction-wise, my name's Nina Jervis. I'm known as Nina the Writer these days because I'm a freelance writer. I've been doing that for the past 4 years, and before that, I was an HR manager. I was HR manager for the majority of my career, so about 15 years. And yet, I had always wanted to be a writer. But it was one of those things that I just thought. So when you're a teenager and you're doing your A levels and things like that, you're kind of pressured into getting a proper job to pay the bills, and that was always what I thought I had to do. So when you're in that sort of academic environment and you've got your parents kind of nagging you and kind of saying, that writing, it won't pay a regular enough wage, it's too unstable. And I listened to that, and so I started doing my HR qualifications, and I had a nice stable career of the type that I was being pushed to get into. Um, and I guess I saw the light about 4 years ago when I decided to start up on my own as a writer and just take a bit of a leap, because I kind of realised that I wasn't getting any younger, and if I wanted to continue, um, there's something about doing a job that doesn't really feel like you. Sort of as you get older, it feels like you can't really hide anymore, and you have to start really being yourself. And that's what I tried to do. Was that helpful, or just me, just a ramble?
It's perfectly helpful. And now this leads me to my next question. You said that you felt that it was not you.
Mhm.
So how can you describe that feeling? How does feeling that a job it doesn't represent you, that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing?
Well, see, HR is about policy and procedure, not much creativity. Apologies if anyone's listening to this working in HR and they're thinking, actually, no, I'm really this. My job's really creative, but I didn't feel that it was particularly creative. Writing has always been a passion of mine, and the only writing that you get to do in an HR role are policies and procedures. Not really my kind of thing. Um, and it was just it's a very regulated role. There's everything that you do is within the confines of employment law, which is obviously there for a very, very good reason. But I found that I was kind of sleepwalking through it quite a lot of the time. And I think the only part of the job that I actually enjoyed was when I could help solve a problem for somebody. So if I had a member of staff coming to me and asking some advice on how to deal with a personal situation and I could help with that, then that was a rewarding side of the job. But mostly it was pushing paper around, writing dry policies and procedures, and then having to enforce them, which again, not always, especially when you don't really agree with them yourself and you just feel a bit petty. Um, so yeah, I mean, it just wasn't. I didn't come home from work every day feeling that I had done anything particularly interesting or worthwhile, or anything that made, and it sounds a bit selfish, but anything that made me feel happy. And I think if you're in the same job for a long time where that's happening, it can just start to bring you down, because you just feel that the thing that you're doing for the majority of the time that you're awake, is not, if none of it's really what you want to be doing, then I think something's wrong.
And thinking about what you said about being happy and making yourself happy and being selfish, I think that if you are unhappy and you don't put your oxygen mask first when you feel like this, then you tend to make people around you unhappy as well.
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
it just shows.
Oh yeah, I mean, yes, I wasn't very nice to be around after a long day at work. I'd
So
snap people's heads off. I'd burst into tears, all that kind of stuff. Get angry, but you don't always realise it's the fact that you hate your job sometimes, and it's only when you sort of get out of it and you look back and you think, "Oh God, I was horrible then," and it was because I wasn't very happy.
when did you realize that you can actually make this step? Because you were 15 years in HR and you always wanted to be a writer. So what led to the final push that said, okay, this is when I'm stopping and I'm doing what I love to doing?
Well, I did have some help from a career change course online, and I can share the details of that if you'd like me to, or just keep quiet about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And it was a 6-week online course, and I joined a group of people that were also looking to change career, and we had dedicated career coaching sessions, and it's funny how, and I don't think you have to join a career change course to get other people's perspectives, but they're very interesting when you talk to people that you don't really know and who don't know you and have expectations of who you are. So if I were to speak to my family and friends, for example, about really wanting to be a writer, it's kind of like they only know me as an HR manager. So it's hard for them to imagine me doing something else. But when you talk to a group of people who don't know you, you can be anything because they don't have those expectations of you. And so, as far as they're concerned, why can't you be a writer, or why can't you change from doing one thing to another? They don't have that knowledge of you, and they don't find it hard to picture you in another role, because I think that can be so difficult sometimes. You talk to your friends and family about changing career, and it's kind of, oh, but you've been doing that for years and you earn good money, and a lot of the time they don't want to be pushed out of their comfort zone, as in you're going to be changing.
Exactly.
But that was a good thing about joining the online career change course, just getting to know other people who had different ideas about life and different experiences. But it was a dedicated coaching session that I had, and the coach, and we were talking about writing, and actually I said as a throwaway comment, oh well, I can't be a writer because you can't. And I thought, because I thought that you had to be somebody like J.K. Rowling or Stephen King in order to be a writer. And it felt like an impossible journey. And I thought, well, if you can't be wildly successful, then how can you make any money from it? But it was the coaching session that sort of made me see that actually writing skills can be put to good use in other ways. So the things that I do now are things like website copywriting, blog posts, articles. I do eulogies, I do online dating profiles. It's basically anything that people need to say in writing, but they don't quite know how to start or how to sound like themselves. And that's what I do. And I love it because it kind of combines the work that I really enjoyed when I was in HR, which was having the personal conversations with people. And now I get to do that and create something positive from it, which is a piece of writing that showcases them as they really are. And that's what I love about it. And I've forgotten the original question that you asked. I'm sorry.
No worries, not at all. I said, what was the final push that led you to decide that, hey, this is the time I'm going to make the switch?
So in a nutshell, because I've been rambling, but in a nutshell, it was meeting other people that saw me differently and made me see myself differently as a result. And having people, because you tie yourself up in expectations that aren't just yours, but they're other people's, and it suddenly becomes impossible. And then you talk to somebody else and they go, well, why can't you be a writer? And you think, oh, I don't know, actually. It's a lot more simple than I have made it out to be over the years.
You were writing before, right?
Yeah.
What were you writing? So what were the skills that you had in writing before you starting to help others write better so they can present themselves better in the world, whether that was a CV or a career change or online profile?
Well, I've been writing stories pretty much all my life. And I've written a novel which I haven't shown to anybody, and sort of various stories and articles. I kept a blog for years just for myself, which is now a book. And in every job I've ever had, I somehow gravitated towards doing the writing for the directors and people like that, where you end up having to get the communications right. So I'd have people come into my office and go, I don't quite know how to how to word this message. Can you sort of take it over? And things like press releases and things like that. And I always gravitated towards that, as well as my HR duties. With things like online dating profiles, CVs, and eulogies, I was already helping friends and family members with things like that before I did it professionally. So it felt like quite a smooth transition, although I did feel guilty asking people to pay for those things for a little while when I first started.
That's an incredible feeling when you're employed, you never have to do it. But then then afterwards you actually have to ask for money for your services, which does feel strange.
Definitely. But you soon realise that if you don't do it, then you might as well go back to being employed. So it's one of those things that you have to get over pretty quickly if you're going to be at all successful. You just have to get over it. And people are expecting, so what I've learned, I've been doing this for 4 years, and what I've learned, people are expecting to be asked for money. It's only every now and again that they're not, and you can deal with that quite easily.
And it's also strange that if you don't ask for money and they don't pay for anything, they don't consider the service to be of quality either, or they're not going to use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting, mentalities and psychology. Nina, you were just mentioning that if you don't want to move to the next job and do what you like, then you'd better stay as an employee. Did you look back and while you were transitioning and thinking, I'm not sure if I can do this? Did you have had moments of when you said, maybe I'm not so good?
Yep, I absolutely did. I took some quite big financial risks because I didn't have a lot of money I didn't suddenly decide to leave my job and set up a writing business with loads of money behind me. I didn't have loads of money behind me at all. And I had a few savings, but I used them to ask somebody to design a website for me, and the logo and everything like that. And all the time I was doing it, I was thinking, what if I can't do it? And I'm not sure if this is going to work. And what if I've just wasted my money? And it was, so I was definitely, because before you ask somebody to pay for something like that for the first time, you don't really know how it's all going to go. You don't know how people are going to take to you and whether you're going to do the right job for them. And you don't actually know that until you do it. So it's quite scary. And there's that crisis of competence where you think, well, I've been doing this for years. If my customers don't think I'm very good, does that mean I'm not actually a very good writer after all? And so the idea you have of yourself could get smashed to pieces. And yet I still did it.
Did you have customers who were not happy and you had to bounce back?
No.
Or not?
I was lucky in that everybody that I've worked with so far, I've not had any. In the 4 years that I've been in business, touch wood, things have gone pretty well. And it's
I can see on the website, the testimonials are amazing.
Thank you. I am proud of them. But then it's also a question of, if I do send out a piece of work and somebody comes back to me and says, well, it's not, can you just make a few changes? It's absolutely fine. Like, I consider that the work doesn't belong to me once it goes to the client. They've got every right to come back to me and say, can you just change a few bits here and there? And I'd always say, with every job that I do, I'll just work with you until we get it right. And so hopefully there wouldn't be any problems like that, because there'd always be a way to sort it out. So hopefully.
That's why people come back with feedback, right? And if it's positive feedback, then you need to accept it as it's good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Did you have failures that you remember and that made you think, okay, I need to improve this, what I'm doing will not work if I'm continuing this kind of on this path?
I know that recently I revamped my own website because I realised that the copy that I wrote 4 years ago was actually, I'll admit this, it was awful.
For your standards.
One of my clients actually said to me, you need to redo the copy on your own website. And I looked at it, because it's one of those things I wrote, and this is something that I'm always telling my clients, you need to review your website copy regularly. And I wasn't doing mine. And it was, I think, about this time last year that I looked back at it and I thought, it's terrible. Who knows how many customers I was putting off, actually, who was looking at my website, reading it, thinking she can't string a sentence together herself. And that was because it was when I very first started out. And of course, when you very first start out, you don't 100% know who your customers are going to be and who you appeal to the most and who you really want to work with.
Yeah.
So I had tried to appeal to absolutely everybody with that initial copy, and I'd rushed through it because the website people had needed me to do it very quickly. And yeah, the result was a website that didn't really showcase who I am and who I work with. But now, hopefully, it does. And the version you've seen, hopefully, is better than.
No, the version I've seen is very entertaining, and the articles you write on LinkedIn, I really love them, especially the pina colada suggestion for working remote.
Yeah, you'll see this is a glass, and it just has water in it. Although it could be vodka, Yulia, I have to say, it could be.
I think you have a nice and interesting take on things, which is very different and creative, and then I really like reading it.
Thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I'm blushing.
You said something about finances.
Yes.
And this is a common thing that comes up when we talk about career changes, especially with people that have done it after 30, 35. There's always an issue of finances. I don't need numbers, right? But did you have to save? Did you have to think about it before, I don't know, and save 1 year in advance? How did you think about this so you can have a blanket until you actually get enough money from writing, from what you like doing?
Yeah, I mean, I did have savings. They weren't very much. They would have sustained me for just a month of not doing my normal HR job. And I just thought, because my boss actually said to me, when I handed my notice in at my HR job, my boss said to me, why don't you cut back to part-time? Why don't you work for, 3 days a week here, and then you can do your writing with the other 2? And I turned that down straight away because I thought, if I do that, I'll just be pushing in a full-time job into 3 days a week. And you always concentrate more on it's just human nature, isn't it? If something's paying you, if you're getting money from it, then that's what you'll concentrate on. And I really wanted to concentrate on my writing, and I really wanted to make a go of it. And I knew it might work for some people doing the part-time thing, but for me, I knew that if I didn't throw everything at it, then it would only ever be kind of a half-hearted thing, probably be a hobby. I'd probably do it for a little while and then go back to full-time work in HR because I'd probably think, oh, this isn't really working. So I really wanted to throw everything at it. I had no idea if I was going to be making enough money to continue. And there was a lot of luck involved because I did a lot of marketing activity involving leafleting houses. So I spent hours like just traipsing up and down roads, putting leaflets through people's letterboxes. And I was very lucky that I got a call within a couple of weeks from somebody who wanted me to write their autobiography. And that job on its own single-handedly kept me going for another couple of months while I built up a few more customers. So I was very lucky so it is luck sometimes. And it definitely was sort of in that case, because if I hadn't got that job writing an autobiography, it probably would have been a lot harder. I don't quite know what would have happened, but
did it come from a leaflet?
It came from a leaflet, and I spent hours leafleting houses, and I didn't get any other calls. But it just goes to show, all those hours, you just get it's sometimes you just get lucky, and sometimes you just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Oh, definitely. But then you did put the hours into the leaflets. And then why I asked if it really came from the leaflet, because so few people use leaflets nowadays. Everything is email. You get everything pushed, notifications, the phone and everything. And nothing is paper and...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the guy so this particular client, he was sort of part of the older generation. So he probably wouldn't have responded. He's not the kind of person that would have responded to an email anyway. But I just think sometimes you can get a bit lost in all the emails and online promotions. I think everybody's doing it, and as a result, you can kind of get a bit lost in the sea of voices. Whereas I think I know that I pick up leaflets. I'm a hypocrite here. I pick up leaflets from my doormat and I put them straight in the recycling. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite there. But I do, sometimes these things can work every now and then.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if it appeals to the right personality, right? Someone who really enjoys paper more than anything else, something to hold in their hand and so on. So why not?
I also left business cards in shops in my local area. And I got one of my first clients because he picked up my business card in the local bakery. And that's not where you would immediately think that a writer would advertise. But sometimes I think that can be really interesting, actually. If you've got a business and you're advertising in the same old places, try doing something slightly different where people kind of think, oh, where it kind of makes them think, oh, I didn't expect to see that. And then it makes them think that they might actually need you. Or they might remember you a bit more because they've seen you in an unfamiliar place. Not that I am not a marketing expert, but
That's what I wanted to ask. You learned marketing by yourself, right? When you started the business.
Yes, you kind of have to. You have to take a bit of a crash course in quite a few things. I had to be my own accountant as well for a while. That was interesting.
So, how did it make you feel to be a junior in business? Because you've been writing before, so this was more of a focus, the way I see it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the rest of the business was totally new.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, how did that make you feel?
Out of my depth, completely out of my depth. So the accounts thing, I didn't know what figures I should be keeping a record of. I didn't know what I should be keeping, what expenses I could claim. And that's where you kind of have to call on some outside help, and you have to kind of realise I can't do everything by myself, I think. Especially when the business is just you. You can't, and figures are not my strong point. I'm a wordy person, not a numbery person. And also, I'm not a designer. I don't have an eye for style. I don't have an eye for colour or anything like that. So things like that, you have to
Outsource.
You have to outsource. You have to think, and it does mean a bit of a gamble with money, because obviously these things you shouldn't be getting for nothing. And if you are getting them for nothing, you should question why. Because why? So you find people that are good at the things that you're not, and you sort of bring them in with you.
How did your family react? Because first, when you told them that you wanted to be a writer, right, early in your career, they said that, and I wrote it down, that it's unstable and it won't really pay a wage. How did they feel when you told them, hey, I am a writer, this is it, I'm making the move?
Well, it was my dad that said that when I was a teenager, and I think he was just worried that I wasn't gonna. I don't know. I think it's just. I think parents. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I think parents are kind of. They just want you to be safe and happy, don't they? And they don't. To be honest, they don't really want to have to worry about you. But because I was in my late 30s when I changed career, I think by then my dad was of the opinion, I'll just get on with it. You've lived long enough, you can do what you want. There was definitely less, because that's the other thing. Like when that was said to me originally by my dad, I was living at home, and he could have been worried that I'd still be living at home with no money, and I'd be a bit of a burden on him. But when you're in your late 30s and you're not a burden anymore anyway, it's kind of up to you.
Got it.
People definitely care less about these things when you get older. It's like I've done talks in local schools actually, and I think I was asked the most valuable piece of advice that I wish I'd known at sort of 14, 15, and it's not as serious as you think. If something doesn't work, you can always try something else. You haven't all these choices that you're being asked to make when you're young. They don't have to be set in stone. They don't have to last forever. You can experiment. You should experiment with your career, I think.
Oh, definitely. But I think that's somehow it was ingrained in our when we were raised, because our parents had only one job, right? They studied for something and then they continued learning on that path and growing and building a nice and steady career. Before that, you might even have had generations going and working in the same company and even doing the same job, right?
Yeah.
My dad is in the army, I'll be in the army, then my kid is in the army, or my father works in ironworks and I will do the same. And now with this last generations, we are changing very quickly, which in my opinion is very nice, because you get to learn from different industries and learn from different domains and then bring way more value than you would do if you would stay in just one job. But parents-wise, I think they're still there. They're still recommending that stable, nice career so you can
It'd
be
be
safe
interesting
and
to see
enjoy
what
life.
millennial parents are going to be like with that, because obviously I'm of a certain age, and so my dad's of that generation where you had a job for life. So it'd be interesting to see how millennials deal with that, and whether they're a bit more kind of, I know you can do whatever you want kind of thing.
I think they are. At some point, it feels like it's too much. like they're telling them too much. They're extraordinary and they can do whatever they want. Because that you need to have a balance as well and understand what you can do and what you cannot do. Because we can all develop skills, but maybe some are harder, and you can just grow better with the skills that you already have and can develop. So it's I think it's still a matter of balance. But I'm curious as well, as you said. I wanted to go back a bit to the coaching part, because you're not the first one that told me about coaching, and I'm sure you're not the last one. Do you think it was crucial in your decision that you had those coaching sessions?
What I think was crucial is getting an outsider's perspective on your career. So yes, I do think so. For me, I probably wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't done that career change course and I hadn't had those coaching sessions. But I still think speaking to people who don't have expectations of you and they don't see you as a certain type of person is almost just as good. So it's just in case anyone's listening to this and they think, I can't afford coaching sessions. Maybe try talking to somebody who doesn't know you, or maybe so if there's a career that you're interested in, maybe try and find somebody who's already doing it and have a chat with them. And you can kind of find out a bit more about it. And I mean, when I started the career change course, one of the things I had to do was send out some questions to people that knew me about the kind of job that they saw me doing and what they thought I'd be good at, which was interesting actually. And I got quite a few suggestions that made me laugh. I would never have considered them. Things like counselling. I haven't got the patience to be a counsellor at all. I like listening to snippets of people's stories and things like that, but I don't think I'd be very good as a therapist or a counsellor. But it's interesting to see how, when others start thinking about seeing you in a different light, then it can be quite interesting.
Did anyone say writing?
Yes.
Okay.
People do know, but I almost thought that they said that because they knew that I already did it. So I didn't. So that's the other thing. So I think when your friends and family give you career advice and they talk to you, you kind of think, yeah, but you would say that because you already know that I do that as a hobby, or yeah, but you would say that because you think. So that's why. So I think it's really important to have input from people who don't really know you, because I just think it's more valuable from that point of view. I think it opens up some new possibilities and helps you see yourself in a different way.
How do you feel about the result? Are you happy with where?
Sorry.
No. Are you happy with where you are now after 4 years?
Yes, I'm really happy. I get to work from home, which is my favourite thing, and I get to meet some really interesting people and hear some really interesting stories. And I think I've got another ambition, which is to become a writer, and for myself. So with my own articles and my own essays and things like that, and to earn money from that. And there's a way to go before that can happen. But I'm happy with where I am now as well. I've branched out into writing coaching in recent years as well. And it's nice to help other people sort of write the way they want to as well. It's all very rewarding.
You said you are having a plan to develop and write for you, right? And there is a journey towards that. Did you plan for that journey, or are you planning for that journey and working towards it, or how does it work for you?
I need to plan in a bit more detail, because I have to be honest, I'm concentrating. Goes back to what I was saying before. You concentrate on what is earning you money. So the client work is earning me money, and it's also interesting and enjoyable to do. So it will be very easy for me to think, well, I'll just carry on doing that. But I have always wanted to have. I'd love a column in a magazine, so if anyone's watching this and they've got some space to fill in a magazine or a newspaper, get in touch.
Any subjects you would like to write about? Let's make this a full commercial.
Okay. Well, if we're doing that, my writing hero is somebody like David Sedaris. If I could have his career, I'd die happy. So basically, just rambling on about my own life with a little touch of humour and surreality kind of sprinkled in, and that's just my ideal writing life. So if anyone's out there that can offer me that, let's talk.
Yes, me at ninatherewriter.com, right?
That's great. Thank you for that.
Nina, if you were to summarize your experience and your learnings, and maybe advise young writers or anyone who wants to take on this skill or this profession, what would you tell them? What should they do, no matter the age?
You have to put yourself out there, and which sounds like a real cliche thing, but you really do have to let people know that you're there and you're available for work. So in my case, it was the Leaflets. I also did a lot of networking meetings in the beginning, even though I'm a massive introvert and I don't enjoy networking meetings. You have to put the work in those early days to help people understand who you are and what you can do for them. Because you can be the best writer in the world, but if nobody knows who you are, where to find you, or what you can do for them, you're not going to make any money. So it has to be that balance. And I know that we creative types are a little bit, we don't want to sound too salesy, but it's just about letting people know that you're around, which was, I guess, what my leaflets were about in those early days. And read a lot, because that helps you get better at your writing.
Nina, one more time, where can people find you? I will put it in the post as well. But if they want to find you, where can they find? What's the website? How can they contact you?
Okay, so my website is it's not me, that's my email address. My website is ninatherwriter.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on Instagram because I've got no eye for images or design whatsoever, and the whole thing just intimidates me, so you won't find me on Instagram, but you will find me on wordy social media pages.
Yeah, and particularly for those who are interested in career changes and applying for jobs, you are doing that as a specific type of coaching that you are doing and support that you are doing with writing.
Yeah, I can do, because I just think I think employers need to open their eyes to midlife career changes. And if I won the lottery or if I had a lot of money, I would definitely have a recruitment agency that focused on midlife career changes. I just think, instead of being, when you get somebody's CV and people kind of look at them and they go, why do you want to do that? Well, you haven't got experience. Or I think midlife career changes come with a lot of life experience and a willingness to learn new skills. And what better than to take somebody on who knows that that's what they want to do and is willing to train, and combine that with all the life experience that they've brought along with them. I just think that's a powerful combination. So yeah, I do coaching for career changes in the form of CV writing and job applications, because that's what I'm experienced at in HR. I'm not a career change coach, but I do enjoy talking about career change, and yeah, happy giving advice wherever I can.
Perfect. Nina, did I forget to ask you something that maybe you wanted to share and I just didn't think of asking?
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, in terms of when you asked about my website and social media pages, I have a personal blog that I update once a week. So if you've got a spare couple of minutes and a cup of tea, you could always pop over and read some of that. And I've also got 2 books which are available to buy on Amazon. If, again, that's something that might interest you.
One is about procrastination and the other one is about CV writing, right?
Well, no, one's called Procrastinations, and it's basically a collection of blog posts that I wrote years ago before I actually became a professional writer, but I was just rambling on about nothing. One of my readers called me the female David Sedaris, which absolutely just made me giddy. And the other book is it's called I'd Rather Get a Cat and Save the Planet, Conversations with Child-Free Women. And it's about women who, like me, have chosen not to have children. But it's a light-hearted take on it. It's not heavy-handed, and it isn't critical of anyone that has made the unusual choice of having children.
I would like to read that as well, because I made the choice of not having children. So I'm kind of curious on your take. And I didn't know about that book. So I'm excited to be reading it.
It's actually, I mean, it's not just about me. It's I interviewed lots of other women that have made the same choice, and it's more of a light-hearted and funny take on it rather than anything scientific or heavy or anything like that. So.
Light is good.
Light is good, especially in these challenging times.
Yeah. Nina, thank you very, very much for today. Thank you for sharing your journey and being so open about it.
Oh, no, thank you. It's been an honour to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.